Soon afterwards, Arthur was seated in his great hall at Camelot.
"I will bring peace to this land,"
he announced.
"and if any of my subjects are in trouble, let them come to me and I will right their wrongs."
Just as he spoke these words, a young man burst into the hall.
"Give me vengeance, I beg you,"
he said to Arthur.
"Outside in the courtyard lies the body of a noble knight, Sir Miles. He was killed in a forest not far from here by a cruel knight called Sir Pellinore. This fiend lives in a golden pavilion and fights every knight who passes by. I beg you, bury my master and avenge his death."
At this, a young squire called Griflet came forward.
"King Arthur, let me go,"
he blurted.
"Make me a knight so I may fight Sir Pellinore."
Griflet was the same age as Arthur. The king considered that for a moment, then said,
"You're not old enough or strong enough to fight such a knight."
"I beg you, let me prove my worth,"
Griflet pleaded. Before Arthur could reply, Merlin was beside him, whispering in his ear,
"One day Griflet will make a great warrior. Do not let him fight today. Pellinore is the strongest knight in the land. He will certainly defeat him."
But Arthur could see the courage shining in Griflet's eyes.
"I will make you a knight,"
he said,
"but promise me only to joust. Do not fight Sir Pellinore on foot. And when you have fought him, return to me straight away."
"I promise,"
Griflet replied. And so Arthur knighted him, and straightway Griflet rode into the forest, searching for Sir Pellinore. Before long, he spotted the golden pavilion, with a black horse standing beside it. In front of the pavilion was a large, bright painted shield. Griflet struck the shield so hard that it crashed to the ground, and Sir Pellinore came tearing out of the pavilion, looking as strong as a bear.
"Why did you strike my shield? What do you want?"
Sir Pellinore barked.
"To joust with you,"
shouted Griflet.
"You? Ha! You're a mere boy."
"Still, I wish to joust with you,"
Griflet repeated.
"If you want to throw away your life, I'm not going to stop you."
Sir Pellinore snarled, leaping up onto his horse. So Griflet and Sir Pellinore rode away from each other, turned, and charged. Sir Griflet struck Sir Pellinore's shield, and it shattered. But Sir Pellinore's lance had pierced Griflet's side and he fell to the ground. Sir Pellinore jumped down from his horse and bent down over the young man.
"If he lives, he'll make a fine knight one day,"
he thought. Then he picked him up and threw him across his horse. The steed galloped off through the forest and made its way back to Camelot. Arthur had been watching all afternoon for Griflet's return. When he saw the horse with Griflet lying across the saddle, sorely wounded, he was furious with himself.
"I should never have let him go,"
he thought.
"Sir Pellinore must be stopped."
He set off at once, thundering through the forest to find Sir Pellinore. But as he rode through the woods, he came across Merlin, being attacked by 3 robbers.
"Flee, cowards!"
Arthur yelled, drawing his sword. The thieves scattered before him as he rushed to Merlin's side.
"Merlin,"
said Arthur,
"for all your magic, you would have died if I hadn't been here."
"No, Arthur,"
said Merlin quietly.
"it is you who rides close to your death. Beware Sir Pellinore's strength and your own pride."
But Arthur shook off Merlin's strange words and rode on until he came to the pavilion and the huge, burly knight standing beside it.
"Why do you fight all knight that come your way?"
he asked.
"It is my custom,"
Sir Pellinore replied.
"Any man tries to stop me at his peril."
"I will stop you,"
said Arthur angrily.
"And I will defend my custom,"
Sir Pellinore replied, picking up his lance. They rode at each other at full tilt, and each struck the other so hard that their lances shattered and both men crashed to the ground. For a moment they were both dazed, then they sprang to their feet, drawing their swords. Each hacked at the other's armor until it was cut to pieces and the ground was stained with blood. At nightfall, they rested. Arthur groaned, weak from his wounds. But he was determined to win. He thought of Griflet lying injured at Camelot and struggled to his feet.
"Let us fight to the end,"
he roared.
"With pleasure,"
Sir Pellinore snarled. Then Arthur swiped at Sir Pellinore with all his strength. But as he did, his sword broke in two. He was left holding the useless hilt in his hand.
"Ha! Now you're in my power.
hissed Sir Pellinore.
Die, or yield.
Death is one thing,
said Arthur proudly.
but to yield, never.
He threw himself at Sir Pellinore and wrestled him to the ground. But in another moment Sir Pellinore had wrenched off Arthur's helmet and stood over him, the tip of his blade pressed to Arthur's bare neck.
Now, I'll have your head.
Sir Pellinore roared. But just as he drew back his sword to strike, his eyes rolled back in his head. He stumbled backwards and sank to the ground. Gasping, Arthur scrambled to his feet and saw Merlin standing behind Sir Pellinore's limp body.
What did you do?
Arthur demanded.
Is he dead? I would not have you kill him.
Hush,
said Merlin.
Sir Pellinore is not dead. Although you would have been, had I not been here to save you.
He helped Arthur up onto his horse.
Sir Pellinore is merely sleeping. In time he will awake. One day he will serve you. Now, come with me.
Merlin led Arthur to a hermitage, deep in the forest, where an old man tended to his wounds. In 3 days he was healed.
Now you are ready to return to Camelot.
Merlin told him.
I am ashamed.
Arthur replied sadly.
Do not worry,
said Merlin.
follow me.
He led Arthur into the forest. Deeper and deeper they rode, along secret pathways, until at last a wide valley opened up before them. In the valley was a clear blue lake. The whole scene was still and silent, and it felt to Arthur as if the air was thick with unseen spells.
What is this place?
He whispered, half afraid to speak.
Beyond the lake is the enchanted Isle of Avalon, which is full of spirits.
Merlin told him.
Now, behold your sword.
Arthur gazed across the water and saw a pale arm stretching out of the lake, holding a sword with a richly jeweled scabbard. Beyond it a woman dressed all in white was walking across the water towards him.
Welcome, sire.
She said gently, when she reached his side.
I am the Lady of the Lake. That sword Excalibur. Do you wish to take it as your sword and wear it?
I do,
said Arthur.
The sword shall be yours, in exchange for one gift.
The lady continued.
Tell me, and it shall be yours.
Then he watched as a ship appeared and floated across the water towards him.
Step into the ship.
Said the lady.
I shall ask for the gift when the time comes.
Arthur climbed on board the ship and it began to glide across the water, as if guided by magic. When he reached the sword, he clasped the hilt, and at once the hand disappeared beneath the surface and was seen no more. On their way back through the forest, Arthur was silent, overwhelmed by everything he'd seen.
Which do you think is stronger, the sword or the scabbard?
Merlin asked him, with the hint of a smile on his face.
The sword, of course.
Arthur replied.
Once more you are wrong,
said Merlin.
The sword is full of deep and powerful magic, but the scabbard is more powerful still. While you have this scabbard with you, you will never lose a drop of blood.
When Arthur returned home, he showed Excalibur to his knight and told them of his fight against Sir Pellinore. Some of Arthur's knights wondered why Arthur had risked his own life to fight the dreaded knight. Others were glad to serve such a king, who was as brave as his warriors.